joining us on Living It Up, Making Life Juicy. I have a very interesting guest today. She's a psychic and the author of this book. She's a spiritual advisor, Deborah Colyer. Colyer. I did
Deborah
it wrong.
Colyer. You made it sound fancy. I like that better.
So here's your book, The Psychic Next Door. I read this book. I loved this book.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I wanted it to go on because it was like a friend, you know, like, I want to
you.
know more and more and more about you, you know, and about the process and everything. Tell us, who is this little girl here?
That is me when I was little. We lived in Southwest Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. That picture was chosen by Laurie Jacobs McVall, who is my ghostwriter. No pun intended.
That's good. That's really good.
And she actually chose that picture. We were thinking about all different houses and then one looking unique as the psychic next door. And that we discovered that picture. She actually did and said, this is perfect. So
yeah.
I agreed with her. Yeah, we were friends from childhood, and I would talk to her and tell her stories. And she said, why don't you write a book? You really need to write a book. And she was a journalist major. So
she would know.
Yes. Yes. And she moved to Florida, and I stayed in Pennsylvania, and we lost touch, but we always talked on the phone, and, you know, we're friends. And then one day, I told her I was ready. And it was a 2-year process.
Okay.
For she and I, and we did it together, and the rest is history.
Wow. And you can find this book on Amazon, The Psychic Next Door. Okay, so you do readings.
Yes, I do. That's what I do for a living.
Okay.
Or tarot readings.
And you also do workshops.
I do workshops, and I teach beginner tarot classes.
Awesome, which I'll be taking the tarot workshop.
Yay.
Save it for me. So here you have a ball.
The crystal ball.
Do you use this?
The crystal ball is for scrying. I did scrying once. It takes a lot of time. Some people believe you see clouds moving by, and then you can actually see images.
Okay.
So I have the crystal ball more because it's just beautiful.
It is.
And that's lead crystal. That came from Germany. My husband travels for his job, and he brought that back from Germany for me.
Nice.
And the cool story is when he went through customs, and he had it, he was like a little worried bringing it in. But the universal language, when they opened it up to look at it, the German inspectors all went, ooh. So that was the universal language of how cool the lead crystal ball is.
Yeah, that's excellent.
I like it for energy, but I'm really all about the Rider-Waite tarot cards. They're the ones I teach, and they're the ones that the other cards are based on. So that's why I teach the Rider-Waite deck.
So I don't want to touch your...
Oh, sure, you can touch anything. It's fine.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's the Rider-Waite. That's the larger ones that I teach with.
Look how cool that is.
And these are the ones I actually read with. But they're better for teaching because they're larger. We can see them.
Sure, sure. She is going to do a little, like, 1 or 2 card reading later. So we'll break and in a little bit. But, and then look at this. This is how...
They're a little worn.
Wow.
I actually
this has seen a lot of life.
They came from Germany as well. Now that I think of it, Gary brought them back from Germany. So that's my 3rd deck in a lifetime.
Okay.
I keep them pretty much till they disintegrate because I like that.
I have this deck.
Do you have them? I finish with the Michael cards. Yeah, I finish with one of those cards.
So here's the book, and then here's the
angel cards. I like finishing with one of those to remove a block.
Okay.
Basically, so when I do readings, what I'm trying to do is give people direction, and if there's anything negative going on, we always lay cards on the negative to show us the answer. There's always an answer.
That's great.
So it's an optimistic answer. I just channel information. It's not my opinion ever.
Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent because I was telling you, like at the beginning of the week, I've been to psychics and I that have given me such depressing like things, and then you kind of wonder, like, wait a minute, are you making this happen because you heard it from somebody, you know, or
Right.
you don't want that to happen.
Right. Well, I do know that people who fear the death card will it out of the deck, and the death card doesn't mean physical death.
Right.
It's a change. But people will it when they sit down and say, I don't want the death card. They'll get the card. So, isn't that funny? It's ironic how you just want to go in open-minded and clear.
Yeah.
You know, and they just channel the information.
Wow. So, I guess when you're doing the little mini reading, you know, you can go into technique. You know what you're.
Sure.
I'm sure it's just individual. It's individual to you, which is you've made it your own. But so I said I have this deck, and I don't even know how to use it. I try, and it's like that's why I'm taking your course.
Okay. Well, they're the ones I use in the end. You'll get a Rider-Waite deck. You'll have that deck for the class, the small one.
Okay.
But these cards is what
Awesome.
you'll have. Yeah, and then we'll start out simple with 3 card spread. So it's very simple to start. 1 question, 3 card spread. We have to start at the beginning. But it all comes together. It's like when you learn anything else, it all comes together. First you're memorizing things, then we're going to stimulate intuition.
Okay.
You know, first it's the logical stuff on this side of the brain, and then we're going to go to the right side where art, interpersonal skills, psychic ability, and then we'll join it together.
I love it.
So,
I love it. How did you get started when did you know that you were psychic and that you had these pronounced abilities?
well, my mother wasn't a practicing psychic, but she was very psychic.
Okay.
And in the book I described, the book is written because of the questions everybody asks me all the time, so we finally, put it in the book. So there is one chapter on when we lived in Philadelphia. My first experience was a relative came to the house to visit with a baby, and they took the baby, and we were all excited over the baby. I was young. And then they took the baby upstairs to change the baby's diaper, and everyone wanted to see the baby's toes. Do they look like daddy's toes? And the fingers and like that sort of stuff. Yeah, and they're like a village. Everybody's all excited. Yeah. Well, when they put the baby on the bed, which had a saggy mattress, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. We lived in a row home and
all right.
with 2 bedrooms, and we were kind of packed in there.
Uh-huh.
They started to change the baby, and the baby was on the bed, and no one else was leaning on the bed. And then the bed had like an indentation, like somebody was leaning on the bed. So I said, what is that? And they said, oh, that's Poppy. Can't you smell the cigar or pipe smell?
Okay, okay.
And I was scared to death and ran downstairs and left the room. So that was my first inkling of something supernatural or that you couldn't explain.
Right, but they all took it for granted.
They all took it for granted. They knew what it was.
So you weren't, yeah, wow. So usually, which is shocking, because usually you hear of children with that ability and they're kind of told, oh, that's nothing.
Right. Not in our family.
Right, so that's like really encouraging.
We were kind of superstitious and things did have meanings and signs. So I think I was maybe 12. I had a dream. And it was a prophetic dream. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it. Now, negative things can be louder or stronger than positive. So your first experiences can be a loss in the family, a death. That does happen, and then it levels out. And I was unaware of this. But I had a dream, and I told my mom I saw a child's funeral or a baby's funeral, and I was really distraught. And within a week, a relative of ours lost a full-term pregnancy. And I felt responsible in some weird way because I had seen this and then this happened, and then that's when my mom explained that we can receive information, or we can dream it, or we can see it, and it's precognitive of what is coming.
How great to have a mother help you bring it out and keep it safe and not...
And normal.
Like, normal. Yeah, not taboo or bad or...
No.
That's
she
wonderful.
Encouraged you. I wasn't very happy about it at that moment. And then I would start to dream with astral projection.
Okay.
Like I would dream I was flying. I left the room and I'd be flying.
Maybe you should explain what astral projection is for people who don't know.
It's like coming out of your body, and you can see yourself. Like I would be in the corner of the room looking at myself in the bed.
Wow.
it's bizarre. The flying dreams, they're wonderful. They're very freeing and they feel fabulous. Okay, and they say you can do practices to learn how to do that.
All right.
Which is exciting.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Okay. And I know I've had something like that, but usually I'm falling.
Oh yeah, that's a very common dream.
Yeah.
You start to fall, even if you're falling when you start to sleep, and then you.
I get that.
Yeah, because there's different levels of sleep state.
Yeah. So, what did your friends think about your talents?
Most of my friends knew, and my family know, and some are supportive and love it, and some aren't so sure about it. But when the book came out, there were some relatives or friends that didn't really know
that I
read that much.
Okay.
And people kind of think it's a hobby when I do it for a living now. Every day, weekend,
Wow.
It's busy.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank goodness, yeah. So I was able to stop my other jobs and just focus on readings now and do the book. So
amazing.
They say do what you love and the money will come. It's happening, but it's very grassroots.
Yeah,
We're very grassroots starting out here, so there's a lot of trial and error. Last summer we did a lot of book tours.
Fun.
And we had a great time. We had some hotels in
Cape May,
and restaurants, and it was really fun. You just do like a Q&A and read a chapter, and then some, you can do some readings publicly. I'm careful about that because I don't really want to reveal a lot of private things in a group.
Of course not. Of course not.
So I like it kind of anonymous that way and private. But, we did that. We could talk about work and jobs and whatnot. So it's pretty exciting summer.
Yeah. And didn't you say one of the hotels was haunted?
Yes. It was a haunted hotel in Cape May. It was exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got to stay overnight. So happy, positive ghosts. Nothing.
Right.
The Chalfont Hotel. It was really fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Are you going to do that again?
I hope to. They call, I go.
Okay.
I would love to. And that stemmed off a story at a little store that I went into in Cape May, and we were talking about a friend. It's called the Guardian store, and we were talking about a friend, and all the lights went out, and we spoke of her. And we had a moment, and that's how it all started.
Wow.
Was we got to talking about why the lights went out and our friend, and one thing led to another, and I ended up over at the hotel because when you meet someone who usually has some kind of ability, like in similar minds, kind of connect. Sometimes you don't even have to talk. It's like mental telepathy. Some of the greatest reunion dreams are mental telepathy. You may see a loved one in a dream and it's a reunion. Sometimes you can embrace them, and sometimes it's almost like they can't, but you still have the reunion.
Okay.
And no words are spoken. It's all mind to mind.
Yeah.
Which is wonderful. Like I see my parents sometimes in reunion dreams. And then I feel, their love for days and days and days. It stays with me. So I do love reunion dreams.
That's awesome. What did, when you were a kid, what did your friends, did they know?
I was a good storyteller. I don't know what they knew. That's an interesting question. Okay. I remember in recess, I was a good storyteller, and I would, we would all walk together in a group. I went to Harris School in Collingdale, PA, and on recess we would all walk and storytell. There was a whole group of us, and we just loved it. Like, we loved to tell stories, and so part of that was in there with the, a little bit of a different take on things.
Interesting. Gosh, I'm nervous about the 2-card reading, or 1 or 2 card. I'm not going to be pushy, but can you just tell us why you use this deck, the Rider deck?
I feel that the Rider Waite deck is the one the other decks are based off of. A good way to explain it, there's 78 cards, 22 majors, and 56 minors, or pips they call them. So the 22 majors, what I call the meat and potatoes of the tarot. Okay. When you have a lot of major cards in a spread, I know there's major change.
Wow.
And the minors are the lesser mysteries. The minors, the cups would correlate with a regular deck of cards, the hearts. These are the cups. So you know how there's hearts, and then there's clubs. Our clubs are wands, W-A-N-D-S, wands.
Okay.
And then the diamonds are the pentacles.
So it relates to a regular playing
Yes, and the
cards,
spades or the swords.
And why did they change this over? Why did they do that? What's the history of the?
Well, there's some discrepancies about the history. I've studied it, and what I got out of it was maybe Italy, 1400s. It goes all the way back.
Yeah. Okay.
But the Rider-Waite deck was Pamela Coleman Smith, Pixie they called her. She listened to Beethoven and she designed these cards. The original cards were a lot harder to read than like the Visconti deck would just show 6 coins, where in our deck here the 6 coins have a lot more going on to tell a story.
Right.
So it's easier to read the Rider-Waite, and that's why I teach them, and then you can pick any deck that you want.
Okay.
The Italians played a game called Tarocchi with the tarot cards. It was like a game.
Okay.
Then just like anything else, when they started to use it for divination, then you're going to have religion step in and say, oh no, you can't get advice from anyone but the church. And then the cards would go underground. So a lot of times they went underground, they came back, they went underground, depending. But I believe Italy is where they really started.
That's kind of what I had read as well. But so when they would go underground, would they come out as the diamonds, the clubs, you know, as what is our typical normal playing card deck?
I'm not sure of that answer, if that's exactly how they came out. I think the Visconti deck is one of the decks that's, you know, there's like 4 of the oldest decks. They don't even have all the cards. They only have like a remaining 10 or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but I've studied with different people. I've read different books about it, and the opinions vary. So I'm not really sure.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. One deck even was commissioned to look like the royalty. The people in the deck were people of that time who were rich and royal.
Oh, okay.
And it's it's their image.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, there's so many tarot decks now. So once you learn this, you can pick fairies or gnomes or knights, whatever.
Yeah, there's
cats.
Really wild decks out there. Wait, oh geez, I had a question, I just lost it. Oh, I know. How long have you been reading cards for people?
I started as a teenager.
This is your book, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. I started as a teenager, and I was so excited to learn, and there's 78 cards, so I was actually getting paid to read just the majors. I learned a major 22 cards, and I would just read with them, and people didn't even really know, but that's how much I wanted to read the cards. So I was a teenager. And then sometimes different things would happen in life, and I'd put them down and go to school, get a job, have children, all the things I did. I didn't read when I was pregnant. I didn't want anything coming in or channeling, you know, when I was expecting. So there were different times in life I stopped, or I had a back injury one time. I didn't read then because I need to be grounded to receive, and I have to be healthy. Okay. So good. In order to do it, I have to be grounded and healthy. Sometimes I meditate before people come. The senses are important. Burn some incense or sage.
I walked in and I was like, sage.
Because if someone comes in and they're upset or they're high strung, I want to read their frequency. I kind of want to get on the same channel, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Yeah. Explain, if you will, what the sage does.
I feel the sage like that. Yeah, the Native Americans used it, and it's ceremonial. I feel that it does a clearing of anything that would be in the house that goes on in my home, or noisy, or distracting, or stressful, to kind of be calm.
It did feel very pure walking in here.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you're in the heart of the house, the portal.
and oh yes, so explain that.
I just feel that every home has a heart.
Yeah.
You know, where people, no matter what, they all congregate. You know, when you're cooking or you're having a party, do you ever notice there's just a spot that everybody wants to go to? So, you know, I feel like this part of the house is that.
Okay, interesting.
Is the heart.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's why we're here, and that's why I picked this location to do it. And once you said it's the heart, this is it. So, how many readings do you do in a day?
It can vary. You know, I don't want to do more than 4 in a day because they're an hour each. I do some groups. Sometimes if it's a group, I can read a lesser time and read more people if they come in a group.
Okay.
Because I don't do home parties as much. I will do corporate events and I will do book signings and events, bigger events where I can do it. But I don't really travel out to home parties like I used to. In the beginning, I did that all the time.
You did that, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in doing like a home party, the way it works for me, I can't speak for other psychics and mediums. I can only speak for myself. The more common ground that I am, the better I receive and read.
Yeah.
So, you know, now that I'm a little older and I travel and it's at night and I can't find the address, I'm not psychic with everything. I'm the only psychic who gets lost and has to use, you know, navigational to find it.
Right.
If I would just be calm, I would probably find it. But, you know, and then you get to the location and it's set up a certain way and I want to face the door and I seem very temperamental, which I am. And, but I want to receive well. So I like it to set up a certain way to receive well.
So why do you like to face the door?
There's something about facing the door that way the energy comes for me. That just works better for me than when I have sat with my back in that direction. I feel like I'm off. Like I'm off kilter somehow. So I have to sit facing the door to read. It's just little quirky, temperamental things that help me read well.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, you have to be very sensitive to be a reader anyway, so it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Now, here's a question. Are you able to turn it off or
That's a
turn
good
it off?
question.
Like when you're in the store or something, you know, like you don't...
I try to turn it off. Yes, people think I can see everything, which I cannot. No psychic really can. It's more of a natural ability. Okay. So when it comes, it comes. We can prepare for it and turn it on per se, but when you get it, you get it. You can't really... I don't like to walk around on all the time. It's tiring. And I don't like to approach someone unless there's really a nudge by a loved one to talk to them. Then you almost can't help it because you're getting that, you know, that's my niece, say something to her. That's Jane, tell her I'm here, whatever.
Wow, so wait. You just so you could be like in a store.
Yes.
And so that will happen.
Yes, that can happen.
Does that freak the person out?
I ask guides or my higher self and I'll say, should I approach them? I wait a minute and kind of digest it a little before I, you know, say anything because I don't want them to think I would be taking advantage of them or... Right,
or trying to upset them.
Exactly.
It's all with good intent.
So it's a feeling that you have where I'll ask in my head, should I say something? Right. And sometimes even if I do, then if they want my information, I will say it's okay. That's just for today because I don't know if that will happen again and I don't want to seem like I'm peddling my ability to somebody unsolicited.
Yes.
I didn't it's unsolicited to kind of do that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it happens.
Interesting.
I also see strings sometimes relating to people, like
really?
I can't explain, like golden thread that connects people in a group.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
And sometimes when these things happen, I have to sit a minute and say, okay, what is that?
It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. Yeah, you're so bright and shiny. You know, you're just so sparkling. It's a wonder. She's got great energy. All right, let's change location. We're gonna wrap it up here, and we're gonna set up.
We'll do a sample reading.
Sample reading.
Can see how it's done.
Yeah.